Fun, 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 fun. Huh. Welcome to Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing, our Sizzlin Summer Spectacular, I think, as we branded these. We got a little special something for you guys here this summer that we're going to kick off tonight on this episode. We'll be counting down the top 100 songs of the 80s as chosen collectively by us, and we'll go over what that means here in just a bit. And before we get to that, let's do our usual intros and up-tos here. We got four of us here tonight. This is Cody, and I'm here with Brett, Justin, and Matt. So do you guys want to share anything you've been up to recently?
I guess I can go first since I opened my mouth. Um, not a whole lot different from the last episode that we did. So this should be quick. I've been messing around more with Fantasia Archive, still fleshing out that world I'm building. But beyond that, I've also been, delving into my to read pile a lot, and uh, currently reading a book called The Swarm by Andy Marino, which if reading the back cover of this, if I hadn't caught the author's name, I wouldn't have given it a second look, because I've been burned by books about recent books too about killer insects and arachnids multiple times before, and other things like Parasite by Myra Grant had a twist that you could see coming from the first chapter. The Hatching by Ezekiel Boone. I thought surely you couldn't just write a book about killer spiders in the modern age and not have some sort of twist to it. Turns out you can, and you can get it published as part of a series. But Andy Marino does a lot of really weird stuff. So if anyone could take the idea of killer cicadas and actually make it interesting, I think it's him. And I'm about maybe 80 pages in, and yeah, it started right out of the gate, pretty much full throttle. It's already super weird, and I'm really excited to see where this one goes. Um, Aside from that, I am in the final stages of playing Clear Obscure Expedition 33. Uh, and I'm at a point where sadly I think I need to grind a bit, which, I mean, the combat is fun and everything, but
Hmm.
I am kind of ready to get to just the final confrontation, and the run up to that has proven to be a little bit more of a slog than I expected, but still a fantastic game. So that's kind of been it for me. Let's see. What about Brett, since he's not drinking anything right now
that you can see.
that I can
Uh,
see?
With his mouth.
well, we watched on Netflix the other night a documentary with the craptacular name of Trainwreck Poop Cruise, which was a very aptly named documentary, given the the story that unfolded. And what was a bit funny about it is that it's actually part of a documentary series. It's the train wreck series, and then it's like the subtitle is for this one, as I said, was Poop Cruise. But they also have they have an episode on the Woodstock '99 festival, and they have one on the Astro World concert, in which people actually died at that. So also a very terrible experience for most people. But yeah, basically this series is like just really terrible experiences with various things. It's been a couple concerts and a cruise here so far. I'm not sure what else is coming up. I haven't looked into it yet, but as I mentioned to you guys in our chat, the fact they called it train wreck when it was about a ship tragedy kind of thing threw me. But that's because it's a larger scale thing. It's a whole series, which I didn't realize at first. But yeah, that episode in particular, wow. I am so glad I was not on that boat, because that was something else. But yeah, if you're interested in just watching, seeing stories about things that were just terrible for the people involved with it, that would be something to give a watch. Is the train wreck series on Netflix.
Is this
So.
gonna make my wife no longer want to take cruises? Because I'm actually sort of enjoying the cruise life now.
It would make me not to want to take a cruise. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I'll
Yeah.
show that one then.
Yep.
It's intriguing. No,
Yeah, Matt, what do you up to?
not a whole lot. I've embraced this new teaching thing. I now have 2 months to not do anything, which I spend all my time up to this point in the year thinking about all the things I will do during this time, and then I have trouble doing any of them, and I'm staying a little bit more busy than usual, which is good. But I really wish I could just be more productive. But I've been sleeping until noon. Not really feeling guilty about it.
That's fair.
As far as stuff we're watching, my wife and I we're about halfway through season 4. She wanted to rewatch The Handmaid's Tale, so we're watching that whole thing from beginning to end, and we're in the middle of season 4. It's really good. It's messed, but
Kudos to you.
It's good. I don't know.
I watched, I think, like 2.5 seasons, and I was like, I am done with this show. I can't tolerate this anymore. Too much. It's too much.
Or imitating life and whatnot, or
a little bit of that. Just well, I mean, yeah, even not our current climate. If that was the plot to the show, I'd be like, oh no, the book was good. I did enjoy the book from our class we took back in the day, but.
Was that it? Did we learn? Did we go through? Did we do that book in the class?
Well, I did it in Spec Fic. I don't know if you were in that one or not with me.
I was, but I don't remember reading that one.
I think that was one of our 7 in there. We did.
I remember reading
Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Castle, which that show is also quite good. It also deviates a lot from the book, but
I got to get back into that one. Yeah.
As far as those two shows, they're very, very comparable in my mind. But my wife seems to get really into this one and had trouble getting into High Castle, so I'll watch the dystopia she's interested in.
There you go. We watched, I think, only one episode of High Castle way back in the day, so I should go back and check that out again.
You'd probably like it, but it's also disturbing.
Yeah, okay. My end over here, as Matt kind of said, summertime, so I have a little more leisure time to do actual entertainment things, which is nice. I have been doing a lot recently, but for this podcast episode, I will do quick reviews of 2 movies I watched in the last week. One, I went and paid money because of the movie being the lowest common denominator of the options at the theater, I guess, which was to go see the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, which was just as charming as the original one was. It did not need to be made, but it was competently done so, and the whole family enjoyed it, grandparents and kids both. My daughter was a little bored, being whatever she is now, 14, so that's that, but I'd probably give it like a 7.5. It was pretty good. Didn't need to be made though, but it was done well. And then the other one that's been out for a while, but new to me, and actually my kids had not seen it, which I was quite surprised by, was a Minecraft movie, which was on Max. So I was like, let's watch this with the family and the grandparents. So we watched that, and it's a fucking train wreck. But it's a fun train wreck. It's a bad movie, but in like a fun way. So
how many of your kids said chicken jockey 10 times a day?
I didn't get a lot of that, but my kids didn't want to go see it because of that, which was weird. So, yeah, as just an experience, I thought it was really, really funny for what it was. Like an 8 out of 10, but in terms of like, was it a good movie? No, it was not. Like a 5 out of 10. So it probably lands somewhere around the 6.4-ish mark, somewhere in there, I would say. But I'm not sad that I watched it. It was fun.
You mentioned it being a train wreck. Would you call it a poop cruise?
You might consider it a poop cruise. Yeah, I would think that'd be fair. Particularly if you're a Jason Momoa fan, you're probably wondering what the hell's going on for him in this movie, but that's okay. It's all good. Khal Drogo has slipped a lot. What can we say? So there we go. All right, well, we are here today to kick off our summer series. We're excited about this one. Dear listeners, this is going to be, again, ranking the top 100 80s songs, which is entirely subjective, of course, but we did put together some actual criteria for this, though, so this is not just haphazard slapdash, put some things down on paper. We gave everybody a fairly large, I think, 800 and some song list to initially rank 100 songs from, or choose 100 songs from, more accurately. Quickly found out that even that list did not contain all of the 80s songs we liked, so we kept adding them and adding them, and we found out afterwards there's probably still more 80s songs that we might have included had we thought of them at the time. We did not, but once we had every song that somebody chose as one of their 100, we then went through that again with people ranking songs 1 through 100 and then added those points up to get our cumulative totals, which has to be, I'm sure, the Bible of all things ever done to rank 80s music. So this is it, people. Yes, this is it. So that's our convoluted process here as we get into all this. Little question for everybody here, just on our initial episode. Just wanted to ask you guys how often you listen to 80s music, or if this has been like a music staple of yours through your life, or have you kind of came and gone with 80s music in general? Where do you fall on that category?
Oh, I guess I'll take point on this one. So growing up, I grew up in the 80s, but I didn't really start listening to much music beyond what my parents listened to for like the first 10 years of my life, at least. Largely because, well, they owned the house, they paid the bills, they got to basically choose what was on in, the radio in the kitchen or in the car when we were going places or what have you. But I, for a good portion of my life, I've really taken to 80s music, and not just because I grew up in it, because by the time I started listening to most of the stuff, it was already the 90s. But there's just an energy, there's like a quality to stuff from the 80s that you can always tell, even if it's a song you've never heard before, you can tell, oh, that was recorded in the 80s. And it's just, I don't know, there's this common atmosphere to a lot of them that really just feels good. Whether it's the popular ones or the more obscure ones, 80s music just has a mystique that I understand why it's still stayed semi-relevant even all these years later. So,
yeah, nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good way to just put it, just the music in general. Like I do think it's interesting that you can like place a song, even if you've never heard the song before. You can probably place it in like a decade because, especially like the 80s definitely have their own sound, to even like, whether it's, pop or rock or whatever, anything between, like it sounds like the 80s, which is pretty crazy. And like I would say even the 90s and 70s, like you can do that with most decades, it feels like, which is interesting just on its own. But as far as the music itself, I definitely listened to a fair amount growing up, just kind of indirectly, like the classic rock station would play, a lot of these kinds of songs, or they would just kind of be on somewhere else. I would say, generally speaking, a lot of this music I haven't like gone out and listened to intentionally. But I have heard and enjoyed, a lot of 80s stuff over the years. So, and yeah, it like you say, it's just kind of it's always fun, and it's good to listen to, even though it's probably I wouldn't say it's like it's not music that like just anybody would pick it up and say, oh, I love listening to that. It definitely has kind of its own flavor, but. Overall, I definitely enjoy it.
Matt, how about you? You were 35 when the 80s started, I think. So
no, not even one.
Not bad.
Not even one. 11 months and almost a year. Anyway, first you got to kind of define what 80s music is, and the reason I say that is because there's a lot of songs released post 80s that to me are as much 80s songs as the 80s were. I think of like synth heavy, Catchy verses and chorus, generally positive feeling, high energy, that sort of thing. There's a lot of songs on this list, which I even voted for, which I honest to God don't think of as 80s songs. I mean, they were released in that decade, but they don't have that feel to me. But I still, but to me, there's a lot of songs outside of the decade that are um, just as much 80s music as some of the stuff in the decade, where there's some things that I'm really surprised as I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, I was going to put that in the list, but that came out in 96. Oh, yeah, shit. Or that came out in 79,
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll talk more about some of that when specific songs come up.
Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. We were really strict with the like 80 to 89 time frame for the songs on this as well. So there were kind of what Matt's saying too. There's definitely artists that I think of as 80s artists, that I'd be like, oh, well, this song of theirs isn't on the list. And I'd be like, oh, that came out in 91. Oh, okay. Well, this song, so there was definitely some of that, but this is just strictly songs that came out calendar dates, 1980, 1989. For me, it's similar probably to I guess some of your other stories as well. My mom in particular listened to a lot of 80s rock, so that was always around the house. And then I think we still had music videos on MTV in the 80s, so I think like especially as I got maybe to like 7, 8, 9, and 87, 88, somewhere in there, you could watch songs being played all the time on MTV. So that was some other exposure to it. Definitely have always had a soft spot for 80s music. And I think there was like maybe like an infomercial in the 90s or something that used to play like all these little 5-second clips of 80s songs too, or maybe there's a couple of them, and I think that kind of endeared it to me as well. And this is a task that I've attempted before, not ranking them per se, but just trying to come up with like a good compilation of the 80s is something I've done a few times in my life, but it's been a while now, 20 years probably, so good time to go back and see how my tastes have changed and songs that I would not have ranked before that are now on there, and other songs I probably would have had high that I didn't rank at all. So even though it's decades ago, it is still something that is constantly changing in terms of my preferences, which is interesting also. All right, sweet. Well, I just, before we go off here, just want to kick off. I did add a little chunk of trivia and some other little fun tidbits as we go through here today. So we have our top 100 songs. We'll get to some honorable mentions in that last podcast episode from number 20 to number 1. So we'll save our other songs for those. But I did want to say on the onset here of our 100 songs that we're ranking here, we had 18 artists that charted more than one song on our countdown. And those 18 artists actually accumulate for 44 of our 100 songs. So there are clearly what we consider to be some heavy hitters within the top 100. Of those, 12 artists have 2 songs on the list. We have 4 artists with 3 songs on the list, and only 2 artists with 4 songs on the top 100. So we'll get to those as we go through, and I'll kind of let you know a little bit about that as we go. So let's kick off this first episode. We're going to go through songs 100 down to 81 as we count down towards 1 this summer. And let's kick it off with number 100. This is one of those artists I was just referencing. It's our first appearance of 3 by Prince on the countdown. And this is Prince's song 1999 coming in at number 100 for us over here. Just my quick notes on this one. Just a really playful song from Prince that I think worked well in the 80s. Maybe dual so on this one because it was very catchy, but also was like a date that people could see in the future as like they were marching towards that date also. And maybe they were curious like what society might be like at that time or what life would be like. And if you were alive in 1999, it got a little zany towards the end there, kind of all wondering what was going to happen. But definitely one that's very catchy, very memorable. This is Prince 1999 at 100. What do you guys have on this?
It's kind of fucked up that it was in the future back then, but now it's like way in the past.
It's true. Yeah, it's actually further in the past now than it was in the future then. So
yeah, no. But The one thing I want to mention about this song, and this is what I wrote in my notes here, is has anybody else noticed that the verse, the the melody for the verse is identical to Manic Monday? Has anybody noticed that?
Can't say that I have.
Think about it. I don't know what the lyrics to 1990. I don't know that song as well, but every time I've listened to it, it's dun 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 dun.
Interesting.
Same. Isn't that the melody to that song? Like
pretty
to the
close.
verse?
Pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's close. I don't think it's exact, but yeah, it's in the same vein, definitely.
One might be like dun 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 dun, dun and the other one, well,
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. All right.
Every time I hear it on the radio, that's the only thing that pops into my head. I'm like, huh,
That's
sounds
fair.
like Manic Monday.
What else you guys got? Prince, 1999. Joe is not with us this evening. He did not leave me notes on this one, so I'm left to guess how much he likes it, but I assume it's quite a bit since it's his boy Prince.
Yeah.
Would it be fun to just mention as we go along, like who voted it highest?
Yeah, we could do that. This would be Joe, obviously, highest. Joe's a big Prince guy. He has a Prince blanket that he wraps himself in, so that says all you need to know. He had Prince up at number 24.
Hold on, I gotta ask. I gotta ask. Is that bullshit, or are you just?
No, that's not bullshit. No, that's not bullshit.
All right.
You haven't seen his shrine?
No.
You see when he tucks the top of the blanket down and puts his head on Prince's body?
And that's the blanket formerly known as Prince.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
yeah.
Didn't the artist formerly known as Prince go back to being the artist known as Prince at some point in time in that artist's life? I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
Only Joe knows.
Yeah, and sadly not here tonight.
Don't know.
So sorry.
As far as what I would say about this song, I probably would say like this is the most, for me, the most iconic Prince song. Like I like when I say, artist of Prince, like this is the song that pops in my head most often, I would say. Like Matt said, it's very just it's very catchy and like it's definitely much more like upbeat and fun than some of the other stuff. But yeah, I honestly it wasn't on my list technically, but definitely a song I enjoy.
Yeah. I noticed that with a lot of songs as I was listening through them as well. Be like, oh, it's a great song. What did I rank this? Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay.
Yep. Just a real quick to mention, that's a good point, is like when we started doing this, I was like, oh man, 180 songs. That might be a little bit difficult. And then I was like, wait, I've got way more than 100 to put on this list. And some of these songs that didn't make my list really should be on the list. So
same. I did rank this one in my list. It wasn't near the top or anything, but Prince, I have to be in the right mood for, especially this song, because it has that weird mix of nostalgia and, at the time, like anticipation. But being that we're listening to it now, years and years and years later, decades later, there are parts of it that almost feel like antiquated. But because it's like, if we only knew, we probably wouldn't have been quite so hyped for just what ended up being kind of another year.
2025. It's gonna be great.
No, 2025 would be a funeral dirge. But no, I like the song well enough, but it's not that it hasn't aged well. It doesn't hit quite the same way as it used to, in a variety of ways that are kind of hard to articulate. Still not a bad song by any means.
Okay, Matt, anything else on that one? We're good to go.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. With Prince, the thing that I always like, I'm surprised I didn't vote for anything from the Batman soundtrack, because those are the songs I remember from him. But only so many space with 100, so
true.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll continue on. Next up is number 99. We have the band Heart with These Dreams. And comments on this one, I have here, Wilson Sisters. This is Ann and Nancy. Amazing. This is one of the bands that I think better than almost anybody, maybe I don't know, like the Jefferson Airplane Starship mess of a band, and like maybe a couple others. Heart was always a band to me that was really a two-decade band, 70s and 80s, and I don't think a lot of bands can pull off two. What I mean by that is two very distinct different sounds that they had in the 70s and they had in the 80s. Like they completely reinvented their sound for a new decade and were relevant all over again for another decade. Just
I can name at least
fantastic.
three other bands that fit that category, by the
What do you
way.
got?
And I ranked them up, but I'll
Oh, you got them. Okay, all right, fair enough.
Okay.
And then I just was, this is a good song. It's not my favorite song by them, and you bastards chopped the other one off here, so I won't mention that one by name. But I did want to ask if any of you have ever seen the Kennedy Center Honors Led Zeppelin, where the Wilson sisters did the cover of Stairway to Heaven, and Robert Plant's just got tears streaming down his face as they sing it. It's fantastic. So check that out
I've
if you
not
haven't
seen that.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
it's
I
pretty
have
great.
not.
Okay, what do you guys got for these dreams?
I just wrote, really damn surprised nobody else voted for this. Basically, this hits almost all the notes to be a perfect 80s song. It was my number 9. Like,
Yeah, Matt's highest on this one for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It reeks of the 80s.
I can only speak for myself in rebuttal to that, and it's the reason why I so rarely take part in any sort of music-themed episode that we do, because I'm notoriously bad with names, and especially when it comes to like songs and what bands sing them. I am just
Me too.
Yeah, I've always been bad at that. And Heart is one of those bands where every time I hear something by them, it's like, oh, I forgot how good they are. That kind of thing. But if you just prior to this, at the drop of a hat, if you had said, "Hey, Justin, name a Heart song," I would have scrambled a bit to try to think of something because I know songs that I like. I know sometimes there's songs that I can like sing in the entirety of in my head. Ask me to tell you who performed them, and 8 times out of 10, I will just draw a blank. I'm not sure why. It's just something with how my brain stores information or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I know any other Heart songs. I got to be honest. I'm sorry.
I know one, mainly because when we did that the Tales from the Loop game, I was listening to a whole bunch of 80s music. Jesse and I both were, and Cities Burning is the only other one that comes into my head, and that's not a common one by them at all. So yeah.
I mean, this is just something I heard on, I don't know. There's a YouTube channel I watch fairly regularly called Professor of Rock, and he did a thing on these dreams, and he was talking about the band being like a 70s band who had like fallen out of favor and then like recorded this and completely changed their image. I'm like, oh, really? I thought that was their image. I thought that these dreams was their image. Like, so I should go back and listen to some of their 70s stuff because I tend to be a fan of a lot of bands who were big in the 70s and then sort of reinvented themselves as synth rock people in the 80s.
Okay.
This song for me is definitely a song that deserves to be on the list. I think it's a beautiful song. I love the especially like the vocals in the chorus are really really cool and very catchy. For me, I mean I definitely will talk about this more as we get to the end of the list. But my choices like very much were skewed one direction towards like genres within the 80s, and so that pushed this song out of my list personally.
That's fair. I mean, I would definitely include this in a list of the greatest 80s songs, but it's just not in my top 100. Short and sweet. Okay, we'll go on to number 97. This is the first of 2 appearances by the Talking Heads. I'm sorry, Talking Heads. Got to do Joe justice since he's not here. Talking Heads. This is the song "This Must Be the Place." Naive medley in parentheses. I just put for my own point here, I said, I'm actually not sure I've ever heard this one before. Prior to this, I didn't mind the actual rhythm of the song, but it just didn't do a lot for me. Kind of sounded like a slacker anthem for the 80s or something in my notes there. And then Joe did type up some notes on this one. He said, one of my favorite songs ever from any decade. David Byrne is not exactly known for writing songs with coherent lyrics, as maybe the last person on earth anyone would expect to write a love song, yet somehow this weird groovy tune tone poem, sorry, manages to capture exactly how it feels when you find that one person who feels like home. Bonus points if you've seen the version in Talking Heads' seminal concert film Stop Making Sense, in which Burns sings this beautiful song to a lamp.
Interesting.
There's
That
Joe.
seems entirely on brand from what little I know of David Byrne and Talking Heads, and excuse me, Talking Heads.
Yeah.
Right.
For me as well, so like as I when we wrapped up this list and I started going through like, well, what actually made the list? This was one where I said, do I know that song? So I had to go listen to it. And I was like, oh, I think I've heard this before, but I very rarely. And yeah, it is very interesting that like, because Joe had it so high. It was definitely interesting to hear what he just wrote about that, because and maybe that's something to go back and look at the lyrics more closely then, because I mean, the sound is kind of fun and a little catchy, but for me, I definitely it's not catchy enough to be like one of my favorites. But if it has a great message behind it, then that makes sense.
I, I really like Talking Heads, and I don't think I'd ever heard the song before. Like, I, honest to God, don't. It didn't sound familiar to me. It's very obviously a Talking Head song, but it really made me feel like I needed to go back and read the lyrics, which I didn't do. But it made me feel like I should, and maybe I still will.
Gave you homework. You're happy about it.
Yeah.
Justin, is this a song you knew?
I don't believe so. I went back and listened to some of the ones I wasn't as familiar with earlier today, and maybe ages ago it came on the radio at some point, and I heard it. But if that was the case, it's been decades. So clearly not one that really stuck with me. It's a fine song. It just didn't really, have a whole lot of staying power in the dark recesses of my brain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on then. Number 90. Actually, we had a tie here. The last one and this one both were 97, so apologies there. 97, the other 97, just because the lower ones had matching numbers here,
We'll
is.
consider it 96. We'll consider it
Okay.
96.
Well, the last one was 98, so this one definitely can't be 96. But we're going to go with Genesis, Invisible Touch up next. Let's see. This was. Pull this up here quickly. This was Matt, obviously, is the highest score on this one. So he's the one I'm going to fear for my life for when I give these comments. I wrote down, I'll be crucified for this, but confession time. I don't actually like Phil Collins' Genesis or almost anything by Peter Gabriel. Don't like Phil Collins' voice all that much. Still, the songs are listenable. And I said I actually did know this song, but didn't know the name of the song until we were going through all these and listening to them again. I always called this the da 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 song. I didn't know what they were actually singing. So there we go.
Wow.
As I just said, I'm really damn surprised nobody else voted for this. I kind of consider it a perfect 80s song. When I listen to 80 like an 80s music station, I expect to hear this somewhat in time in rotation. Like, me and my friend Eric referred to the actual album Invisible Touch as possibly the greatest pop album ever created, just because it, like, almost all the songs on it were just like really popular in the 80s. Like, you would know most of them, or maybe, I don't know, we did. But I said that there were several bands which were in the 70s but reinvented themselves in the 80s, and this is one of them. Genesis is one of them. It was definitely a progressive rock staple of the 70s, but then they became a synth rock band in the 80s. And I think Invisible Touch is actually like the song most people would know. The other one I would call would be Land of Confusion, which is on the same album. It's two songs later, but they're both great. But when I was a kid, like, me and my friend Matt, we actually became friends because our first names were both Matt, which is sad. But we started to kind of do this Weird Al thing, and we would like come up with parodies of songs. And I remember Invisible Touch was one of the ones we did.
I was just looking for evidence of it, and I don't recognize any of these pictures that I'm looking at. But I do remember I in my early teens slash preteens had a copy of a Genesis Greatest Hits cassette tape. How I came into possession of that, I'm not entirely certain. I guess I really enjoyed Genesis at that point in time. But I'm certain this song was on, one of the songs on the list. And I definitely have listened to it many times. It is a very fun and somewhat iconic 80s songs. I would say for myself. It's just another one of those songs for me that was just outside the 100 for me. Deserving to be on the list, but just not quite there for me.
Really, his voice, Cody? Like he's got a very, very nondescript voice.
It's not Rush, I'll say that, but
I know you're gonna get on the Geddy Lee hate thing. I get that. I'm
no,
expecting
that's
that.
not.
I'm cool.
I don't have that shirt on today.
But I don't understand Phil Collins. He's just like
I don't
he
understand
has
him
a
either.
very, very mellow voice.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. When I think Genesis, I think of the other song Matt mentioned, Land of Confusion. And when I think Land of Confusion, I usually think of the version by Disturbed, which I think I heard before I heard the original Genesis version. So
Wow.
It might be the reason why I like it a bit more. Also, it's a bit angrier, and well, I think we need a bit of that these days. Although, I mean, nothing against the song. Actually, when I went back and was re-listening to some of these earlier today, I came back to this one once or twice just because it's like I forgot how solid of a song it was. And I think that's going to be a recurring theme on for a lot of these I didn't pick myself. It's like either I didn't have room or I forgot just how good the song was at the time that I was looking through this 900 plus item list.
Yeah.
So
Disturbed might be angrier, but Genesis is still creepier with their videos. So
the puppets.
There's that. Okay, let's move on to a tie for 95. Next up here, we'll do this one for no particular reason in the bottom here. This is our first of 4 appearances by the band U2. So there's a spoiler for you there. This is Where the Streets Have No Name. I'll keep my comments short on this because it's actually not one of my most favorite U2 songs, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. Just really like the intro in this one, just kind of leading up into the song. And then I also always have liked that somehow Bono seems like he's out of breath from the moment he opens his mouth for the first time in this song. That's it for me on this one.
Did Joe write anything?
Let me see here. Joe had, yes, this is one. Thank you. Joe put down on this one of the greatest album openers of all time, one of the greatest things I've ever experienced live. I know a lot of people like to poke fun at U2, but very few things in life can compare to the experience of being in a pitch black arena surrounded by tens of thousands of people and suddenly hear the opening synth notes of this song cut through the darkness, followed by the Edge's iconic guitar intro. It is truly a spiritual experience, and just the memory of it gives me goosebumps.
Nice.
Wow. On my end, I know I did rank at least one other U2 song. I just didn't have room for all of the ones that I like from them. This being one of them. It's a very solid song. It's one that I will always listen to if it comes on the radio or whatever I happen to be listening to. Yeah, good song, but it was a huge list. So
should point out Joe had this at number 6. He's the highest on this by far. So
I don't think anybody else ranked it. So,
nope.
So by default, he's the highest by far.
By default.
I've always liked the song. I got to be honest. I have no idea what it's about. I think the lyrics are extremely poetic, but I've never sat down and thought about them. But I think it's a very, very solid song.
I think it's just a disadvantaged neighborhood where they can't afford street signs. That's how I was taking it. I don't know. Anyway, Brett, what do you got on this one?
Nothing real. I guess nothing of a real thought behind it here. But it's definitely a song I enjoy quite a bit, and also I do like the music on it. Probably a bit more than the vocals. Very solid overall. I would definitely put it up there in my, in my list of U2 songs. So definitely not surprised, and that's on this list. It makes sense.
Yep. And we do have a U2 Top Songs podcast out there too. If you're interested in listening to that one, go back and find that. We'll move on to the tie here for number 95. This is They Might Be Giants. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name of the song. I'll let Matt tell me how it's supposed to be pronounced, but my comment here
I'm
was...
assuming you listened to the song, so
I did,
you know
and
it's Anna Ang.
Well, my comments here say, yeah, Matt, I've never heard this song before, so tell us about it, Matt.
I figured you haven't. Okay, I'll read just what I wrote verbatim. I said, put simply, I don't think of Anna Ang as an 80s song. I think of it as a CMBG song. And while a lot of their songs hit all those 80s notes, they're one of those bands that I say feel like an 80s band, even though most of their shit that sounds like an 80s song is from the 90s. A lot of their more 80s songs came out in the 90s, like Birdhouse in Your Soul, which is, in all honesty, an 80s song, but it came out in 1990. But the main purpose I have for including this one on my list is that it actually charted. It was 11th on the alternative charts, but also, and I only know this from the They Might Be Giants documentary movie called Gigantic, A Tale of Two Johns. It went to number 1 on college radio charts, which I thought was really weird. Like shit, like the radio station in college where we went, I don't know if it went to number 1 there. I don't know. That'd be weird. But it did reach number 1 on college radio. It's probably in my top 25 Giant songs, but I couldn't tell you where because I've never ranked them and I probably never will. But yeah, it is pronounced Anna Ang, and the idea is it's about somewhat like, I've read that it's about if your true love was on the absolute other side of the globe and you couldn't meet them. Kind of interesting, I suppose. Anyway.
Okay.
But yeah.
What do you guys think of this?
They also have any thoughts when they listen to this?
I've got a weird one with regards to this. So again, titles of things. I had no idea what I was going into when I brought this one up on YouTube. Then I started listening to it, and I swear do you guys remember, I'm assuming at some point you all watched a bit of Adult Swim on the Cartoon Network. Do you remember when they would have random like music videos but set to like footage from the shows that they featured? I swear I have a memory buried way back in here of this song set to a bunch of like, I don't remember if it was like Cowboy Bebop or Trigun or what, but like Cartoon Network shows. I'm pretty sure it was Adult Swim that was set to this song. I don't think it was the entire thing. It might have only been like 30 seconds of it, but I swear I remember seeing this on TV, and I hadn't heard it probably in like 20 years. So it's this strange experience. I went searching for it. I couldn't find anything that matched what I remembered, but this might be my own personal Mandela effect. I don't know, but
wouldn't surprise me if it fits their bill.
It kind of does.
Yeah. And you probably, all honesty, heard it in my car at some point in time in the past 20 years. Like, if you heard it, that's where you would have heard it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I also this is another one where I had not heard it, and yeah, because I really haven't, other than when we did the the album exchange, Matt, where you picked They Might Be Giants. I think that was like the most by far that I've ever listened to them, and I can see that like this song definitely fits into the rest of their stuff. I did enjoy it. I've only listened to it like 3 times now, just for this list. But I do kind of enjoy the chorus bit of it. It's the music is kind of like just very it's a little bit more fast, and it has a quality that's kind of it's fun to listen to. And what's fun about their songs is they kind of all sound like they could be parody songs, even though, like, I know as you said, this is like more of like they're serious with the lyrics here. There's not like it's just some goofy theme behind it, but the sound kind of sounds like it could be almost like a Weird Al kind of thing. So it's fun to listen to, and yeah, it's fun to like hear why you put up so high as well. So
Yeah, definitely Matt had the highest on this one. It is number 6 song, and Matt also had the highest on our next song here. We'll check out number 94. This is Starships, We Built This City.
So me and Joe on this one, that's it.
Yeah, 2 people had this one. You were higher. This one, so I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I'll tell you if you didn't know this. I just wrote in my notes here. The song almost sounds like somebody doing a parody of an 80s song, of what they think an 80s song is supposed to sound like. But the trivia part is I didn't know if you guys knew this one or not. But in 2011, there was a famous countdown where the magazine Rolling Stone went through and ranked all of the 80s songs, and they picked this as the worst 80s song in their countdown in 2011.
Ooh.
Since then, of 80s countdowns, both the magazines Blender and GQ have ranked songs and have given this the title of worst song of all time as well, not even 80s. So the hate on here is pretty strong with this one.
What the hell's the hate for?
Despite all that, I still think it's not entirely unlikable, and it has some catchy things to it as well. So
It's a goddamn poster's child song of the 80s. Like,
Also,
you ask
worst
someone to
song-
name an 80s song, they'll be like, you put a gun to their head, they'll be like, we built the city, man. We built the city.
Also, worst song ever. Have these people not heard Hate Beak? If you haven't heard Hate Beak, don't. It's a parrot trying to sing death metal. It's not as cool as it sounds, but it's absolutely terrible.
I think it's a song that people don't want to admit that they like, but if no one's looking at them, they're singing along with it. I think that's this song to a T. That's just me. Maybe you'll disagree, but I think that's it.
I'll admit that I enjoy this song. The chorus definitely. I couldn't say that I know anything about any of the verses, what they're saying. Like the rest of it could be just complete garbage. I don't know, but the chorus is fun, and I this is one of those where I probably, like, in my head I feel like it's more of a 70s song almost. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know.
For me, I've got a few connections with this song. First being, at least in the production I saw, it's used in the musical Rock of Ages, and I've got a very strong mental and oral memory of that whole sequence from the production at the university where we all went, where most of us went anyway. So there's a nice connection there, and it was a good performance. The music video, which is not the weirdest one I've seen, but there's a part where like the statue of Abraham Lincoln, gets up and starts like doing stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And there's a literal video version of this. And literal videos are, I'm not sure if there's still like a thing, but for a while they were a fad of looking at a music video, keeping the same beat, but replacing the lyrics with what you were seeing on screen. And that one's pretty entertaining too. But yeah, I like the song well enough. Not one of my favorites, but yeah, it's catchy. It's fun.
I want to comment on something about that really quick, is that a lot of the songs I didn't know, I now know by the music video, which probably I have a different impression of if I just listened to it. But since the songs I didn't know, I looked up on YouTube, it always pulled up the music video. And some music videos are really fucked up.
And we don't even have any Tool on this list.
No, I love Tool's music videos, by the way.
Yeah.
But one of mine coming up has a particularly like weird opening for a music video. I'm like, I hope they didn't watch the music video of this. I hope they just listened to it. But we'll see.
all right. Okay, we have one more tie here. It's this next tie for 92, so we'll call this a soft 93. This was ranked highest by Justin. This is REM's It's the End of the World as We Know It, parentheses, and I Feel Fine. I'm just going to piss everybody off tonight, so here we go. Justin, so I wrote in my notes on this, both the band REM and this song might appear on my personal list of things that are overrated from the 80s.
The song.
The song No, I didn't rank the song.
Oh, that was Brett. I'm sorry. I've got like
This-
half
this,
Yeah, I
Uh,
always assume you're column one because
So
I
do I.
assumed you're column one.
The quality, the way this is written, and the pace of which this song is written, have always really reminded me of "We Didn't Start the Fire," which is another song that I think has got merit, but also maybe a little overrated as well. But that's me. Somebody else take some REM love here.
No,
Both-
I actually
go
wrote
ahead.
the same thing you kind of did, except I didn't call it overrated. I just said, honest to God, I assume this was in the 90s. I've always compared it to its sister song, We Didn't Start the Fire, also on this list, which I also assumed was from the 90s. Those two songs are both, in my mind,
Interesting.
are 90s songs and sound like 90s songs. They're very similar to me. I remember one car ride a long time ago where Justin was saying he could sing all the lines to "It's the End of the World," which I didn't know, but I could sing all the words to "We Didn't Start the Fire," and I thought that was an
I remember
interesting
that.
comparison. You
It's the
remember that?
mashup we need on the Fondcast.
But yeah, I was actually going to bring up that memory.
Genius.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do agree they're similar, and they touch upon and really focus on some really uh, heavy subjects in a energetic and more accessible way. I mean, and subjects that never entirely go away. They just kind of shift and are mutable and change form. Like it feels, our generation especially, it feels like even if we didn't realize it as kids, it feels like the entire time we've been alive, the world has kind of been teetering on a precipice of just being completely destroyed either by nuclear war, climate change, just other natural disasters, conventional war that just spirals out of control. And I think this song really encapsulates that. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes and airplanes, et cetera, and so on, and it just builds from there, throwing in every possibility, ludicrous or otherwise, for how the smallest thing could tip the world past the breaking point, past the tipping point, and have everything just completely fall apart. It's a great song. I will defend this song, all day. I'll die on this hill, as it were. If this comes on the radio, I will always listen to it, like all the way through, unless I'm really pressed for time. It is one that will stick with me always.
I really appreciate that opinion, but I have one question.
Sure.
What does Leonard Bernstein have to do with the end of the world? He really emphasizes that Leonard Bernstein.
That's one of the graves I visited this summer, so
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it made sense to me.
How did I miss that one?
That's the only part I
I'm the
knew.
musical guy.
Oh, I mean, sure. There are some. I think there are some lyrics that you would need to really dig into to get their full meaning. But I stand by my overall assessment that
no, your assessment is correct.
Oh, thank you.
For all intents and purposes, Fire mentions the Rock and Roll Cola Wars, which hilarious. Anyway,
Yes,
so
For me, it's a fun song. I definitely enjoy the parts where in the verses where it's like it gets really good, very fast. Like it's sung fast enough to the point where it's hard to like keep up with the words what he's saying. Like it's just like blowing by you. I know this is one Matt, you mentioned as well. Like it sounds like a '90s song. I definitely thought this was a '90s song. But to still see on this list, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna throw this in here because this is one that I do enjoy. And it's also I think it's kind of like just like a fun like dichotomy because it's like it's a fun kind of sounding song, but everything they're singing about is terrible. So
I assumed it was 89 at very least, and I just looked it up. It's 87. I'm really surprised by that. Surprised by that.
Yeah, because I think I looked up, and I think Fire is 89, isn't it? Because I was like,
It should
Fire
be.
must be first. And then I was like, oh, shit, nope, they're the opposite.
Again, I was very surprised by that.
All right, let's continue on here. Number 92. This one does have sole possession due to some tiebreaker rules we have, where if somebody ranked a song higher on the list, then that gets the priority here. So this is Matt, surprise, up here choosing this one in his number 5 spot. This is Stan Bush with Dare. Apparently, it's used in some movie. I don't know about that.
Okay. So first, I without going back and looking, I don't know. Did the touch rank?
We can't tell you because that'd
I
be a
gotta.
spoiler.
It would be spoilery. Yeah,
Yeah.
spoilerish.
Okay, so like both those songs written by the same dude, if both for the movie Transformers, the 1986 animated Transformers movie. And I just always thought this was the stronger song. The touch is very iconic for the 80s, but theirs sounds more like an 80s song. It's got more energy. It's got, I don't know if any of you guys knew it off the top of your head or had to like listen to it, but like I don't know. I don't know. It gets me going. The touch, it's got that great power chord thing going on, but like this song just like, I don't know. It does it more for me, I guess.
I mean, I just watched this movie last week. I mentioned that I think on the last recording, but um I distinctly remember this song because it's that scene where Hot Rod's riding down from the mountaintop with Danny inside, and
then in the middle of
gross.
that, in the middle of the song, like the random action starts. Like,
then comes the battle of Decepticons coming in to break some shit up, and yeah, and then Optimus Prime comes in. It's great, and no, I myself voted for The Touch higher than Dare, but this is definitely a song that I very much enjoy myself as well. So I'm very happy to see it here on the list.
Whereas it's a catchy song, but I never think of it in any context outside of the movie. So that's kind of like the anchor point. But if I'm not thinking about the movie, the song will pretty much not come to mind. It's like not one you hear on the radio. It's not one that I will just suddenly like click into my head at random. It's not bad, but it just doesn't stick with me.
There's a long list, and I'll use that to segue to mention one thing about a lot of songs that I voted for, which are way the fuck down on the list. But it's like this genre of songs from the 80s, which are really strong in my mind, 80s songs, which were written for a random movie, featured in that movie, and then forgotten by the world. This is really high up on that list for me. Another really high one is called Shoot for the Top. I don't even remember the band's name, but it's from Police Academy for Citizens on Patrol while they're skateboarding. Fucking great 80s song. Perfect 80s song, but no one's ever heard of it.
Huh.
But you can almost imagine how it goes. So
Yes.
You
It sounds
could.
very similar to Dare. Very similar to
Okay.
Dare.
I don't know if I've ever heard this one before, Matt, but I enjoyed it a lot. I said I'm going to listen to this one again more times in the future. This is one that I did enjoy. Very 80s sound, something I really enjoyed sound-wise, and I can only maybe I've heard it once. I don't know. I don't even know for sure that I've seen Transformers the movie. It's possible. I'm not positive.
I
That's
didn't
just
see it in the theaters when it came out. I remember going to see that.
that's just because I was a G.I. Joe guy. I wasn't a Transformer guy. So I don't, but I really did enjoy the song. So if I earn any brownie points back from you on that one, I did enjoy this one quite a bit. So
You do. It'll make up for any brownie points lost on the next song, which which is the weird one. I know.
Okay, let's go on to number 91. This was number 4 on Matt's list. He's our high score here. This is Tom Waits with Downtown Train. I know this because this is what they tell me the name of the song is, not because I could understand the guy singing the song. I don't know. I spun my notes here. True confession. I don't know that I've ever listened to many cover versions of Tom Waits, but I'd be curious if I would like those versions of the songs because his vocals just have never been my thing. But
so I actually mentioned that in my little write up here. First off, this song represents something that's going to come up often in choices for me. It's like cityscapes or suburban cityscapes. I don't know why this theme and music appeals to me, but it does. It's very iconic. I just love the feeling of urban landscape or outside of urban landscape in now. This song is probably more well known by other people who have covered it. Specifically, Rod Stewart or Bob Seger have both covered it. I don't like I mean, they're good. I like them, but for some reason, Waits' gravelly voice like fits this perfectly to me. I don't even find his voice off-putting anymore. I actually like it, especially with this song. There's other songs I like it too, but like this one very clearly, like I listened to Rod Stewart and I'm like, the hell are you doing? You don't, this is not how it sounds.
That's fair.
But he sounds very clean and pretty. If you want the same song, clean and pretty, check out Rod Stewart.
Okay. Any other comments on this one?
Yeah, gravelly is definitely the correct adjective to describe his voice. I'm not sure I've ever heard this version of this before. It's interesting. It's not bad, but it's not one that I had on my radar heading into this whole list at all. And I'm not even sure if I listened to it while searching for other ones that kind of jumped out at me. I'd probably listen to more of his stuff, but I could see how he's certainly an acquired taste.
Yeah, I'm not certain. I wasn't certain if I'd heard the song before. And then also in that same kind of breath, I'm not certain I've ever heard Tom Waits before, just period. Maybe, but just didn't know what I was hearing. Certainly I've heard his name quite often, like, is a well-known artist, relatively speaking. But yeah, I don't dislike the song. I definitely, I just simply have never heard it before. I don't think,
Some of y'all might know him as an actor more than a singer. Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola film, he played Renfield. He's also in Mystery Men. He's the guy who plays the guy who makes the non-lethal weapons.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, it's a acquired taste vocally for sure. But if you get past that hump, I think his music is a lot more accessible than you'd think. But I don't know. I've always liked the sound of this one. It gets me.
Sure.
Fair enough. Different strokes, different folks. All right, we're jumping into our next 10 here with number 90. This defies the odds, but somehow Matt has this one the highest again of anybody. This is Matt's 58, though, so this one's kind of different now because nobody has it that high, but 3 people did have it ranked. And this is the Bangles with Manic Monday, which was referenced earlier today. I'll keep my comments short here just to say great music. This is not one that's particularly strong on lyrics, but the beat and the harmonies are pretty good. Very light and breezy song. I enjoy this one quite a bit. And this is the first of 2 appearances by the Bangles on our top 100, if you can believe that.
I wonder what the other one's gonna be.
Could be anything.
I mean, we all know what the other one's gonna be if you have any knowledge of 80s music. But I'm not. Yeah, we're not gonna. Again, I wrote down reiterate the 1999 comparison. Just I wanted to hit that one home. Hit it home.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think for me it was the lyrics on this one that just kind of it's catchy, great beat and everything, but it's also sort of fluffy and doesn't have a lot to it. For my money, if we're talking about songs about days of the week, I'm more of a Friday I'm in Love sort of guy by The Cure. So
that'd be fun.
Also,
let's do a playlist of days of the week.
Who in their right mind thinks Sunday's the best day of the week? It's Saturday because you didn't have to go to bed the night before and you don't have to get up the day after. Saturday is by far the best day of the week. We all know that.
Damn straight.
hard to argue that. Not surprised the song's made the list. Definitely one of those, I think, more iconic songs. For me, I think similar to what Justin was saying. It doesn't sound bad, but it's not catchy enough for me to put it on my list, and just not something that really catches my ear as much as other stuff.
Okay.
I always like the lyric, 6 o'clock already, I was just in the middle of a dream. Like, because of the fact that, like, that's like me every morning. I hate waking up because it pulls me out of whatever the fuck fantasy my brain is in at that moment in time. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
You have conscious dreams?
I don't know that they're dreams at the time, but when I wake up, I'm always pissed off.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about that little tendency with number 89 on our countdown. Tom Petty's Running Down a Dream. That's right. What a segue, Matt. You just set us up for that one. This is the first of two appearances by Tom Petty on our list as well. And this is the other and last song. We have comments from Joe tonight. He said, I know it's on the nose, but there may be no better song to crank up while driving fast with your windows down on a summer day. Um, yeah, I don't have a lot to add particular. To me, Tom Petty is not necessarily always the deepest with some of the stuff that he writes about, but he frickin' understands how to write a song better than most artists out there. Great lyrics, again, not deep, but good jam. And just the impression overall of Tom Petty, like, I don't know, he just seems like he never changed much over his career. He just kept rocking the whole way through. So I like this one quite a bit as well.
I'd never heard it, I don't think.
Oh,
But as I was listening to it, I'm like, yeah, that's catchy. That could go on my playlist and I'd be happy. I'd listen to it with the windows down on a summer day.
We got Brett with the highest at 33 on this one.
ooh.
Yeah, I think I would put this up as my top Tom Petty song. It for me is just very like the music behind it is very kind of driving, which is unironically as Joe wrote, you know, it feels like a song that you put on when you're driving somewhere. It just like, you know, windows down and cruising somewhere, and it's odd how some songs like feel like they fit that vibe better than others. But it was one and it's for what I really enjoy is the part of it where I assume it's the bass making the sound, but it's the part that I really enjoy that bit of it. And if it is the bass that's doing it, then it's for me it's one of the best bass lines that I can think of. So just kind of very catchy for me and like gets you like kind of amped up a bit, and so very fun for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Joe and Brett said about this feeling like a driving or a road trip kind of song. It's something about the beat. I agree. There are certain songs that just sort of slot into things that work well for long trips. This is one of them. I'm blanking on the names of most of the others that would fit because again, it's me and names. Only other one that's coming to mind is "Take It Easy" by the Bare Naked Ladies. That also has kind of a not as heavy of a beat as this, but it does feel like it just fits as like a road trip kind of thing. And those kinds of songs are always interesting because it's not a genre. It's not it is not tied to a decade or anything. It's just a feel that certain songs get, and it's actually really kind of interesting to me now that I put words to it. That there's just that quality that is hard to really put down in words as to what exactly makes a good driving song. But yeah, I like it pretty well. I did have this one ranked on mine, not high, but it was on my list. So
Okay. Continuing on here, number 88. Dear listeners or hosts, this is another trivia for you. Did you know if I asked this question, the answer? Which female group in the 80s actually charted the most songs? It's actually our artist here at number 88. It was Bananarama that charted the most female pop or duo group songs in the 80s, with the song Cruel Summer here at number 88, which Justin had high at number 12. This one, to me, real quick, just again has really good tune, great vocals, good harmonies again in this, where if they're not singing together, they're singing kind of overlapping each other, which I think is really fun as well. Obviously, really good summer vibes in this one, although, you know, maybe they're cruel vibes. So there's that as well. But always a crowd pleaser here for me. So
I guess since I had it ranked the highest, I'll start next on this one. So yeah, the fact that I had this one ranked as number 12 on my list, I think illustrates what's going to become evident as we go on as a common theme to what I really like about 80s music. I mean, I'll listen to more or less anything from the 80s, metal, synth, just straight up rock, pop. But a common through line to what I seem to like the best most often is that it involves female vocalists. There's just something about '80s female singers that they're just good across the board. I mean, Bananarama here, Cyndi Lauper, Pat Benatar, Bonnie Tyler, Hart, Scandal. I mean, there is just a lot of really good vocal talent in female singers from this decade, and for whatever reason, they just really do it for me. Their songs are I haven't gone back to my full list in a while, but I think it's going to be very top heavy with female singers and vocalists and whatnot. So
Very top heavy, huh, Justin?
I realized as I was saying that it sounded terrible, but I couldn't. I was already committed. So
That's where the vocals come from.
yeah.
For me, this is one of those songs. I saw this on the list and I was like, wait, what song is that? And I heard it and I was like, oh, right, yeah, okay, I get it. That I see why that's on the list. It's a fun song. It is kind of like it's got a certain groove to it that's enjoyable. So yeah, not surprised it's on the list.
Okay. We will jump ahead here. We got a tie for number 86 with a couple people's number 3 songs. So we will start off here with Matt has it his number 3, 86th overall, Rush, with another of his urban landscape songs, which you told me about, and now I'm totally creeped out looking down through your picks. But yes, Subdivisions is the name of this song. Matt, you will be happy to know I did know this song once it started playing. I didn't at all by its name. And for the lack of me getting back into rehashed territory, I won't go back over my like or dislike of Rush, but I will say that I liked the synth in this song.
I know you don't like Getty's voice.
Why? You said we weren't going to rehash that. Come on.
Well, no, I don't mind. No, it's I don't know. I can understand why his voice would bother some people, I guess, because it's sort of very unique. But to me, it's the theme and the lyrics on this one. I love the synth as well, but like, it's this the suburban theme, and this one specifically is this crushing and isolating nature of growing up in suburbia, which I don't know that any of you guys actually grew up in suburbia, like, but the lines, nowhere is the misfit or the dreamer so alone, conform or be cast out. There's a lot of truth and feeling to that. It's this weird, isolating, cookie cutter nature of everybody and every house and everything that's there. And I don't know. I thought the song captures that feeling perfectly. Back when I was working at the pharmacy, I had this thing where I would play this song in the background on repeat and try to get as many claims done during that 5 minutes as much. And I try to beat my record. It's like Principal Skinner said, oh, licking envelopes can be fun. You got to make a game out of it. See how many you can lick in an hour and then try to break that. I did that with working claims while listening to Subdivisions. My record was 12.
Okay.
But I was as a shitty slow worker. So, but yeah.
I'd heard this one before, but prior to going back and giving it a listen on YouTube, you could have offered me $1 million. I would not have been able to tell you what the song actually was. It's one I had heard off and on throughout the years, but yeah, that again is more my failing than the songs. But it does have a good like synth beat to it. The lyrics, when you really do listen to them, they are fairly deep. It's just not a song that was as much on my radar as maybe it deserved. But yeah, I think it's a fine choice.
Yeah, this is definitely one on our local classic rock station that growing up, they played it all the time. I probably heard this hundreds of times. But in the same note, like I didn't know the name of it, like by the tune of it. But I definitely do enjoy the song overall. It has like kind of like a ramping up effect, I feel like, to a lot of the verses that makes it very enjoyable.
Okay, we will take a look at the tie for 86 here. This is Brett's number 3 pick, and it's also our first of 4 appearances. Here's our other one by Metallica on our list. This is Fade to Black. Why don't we let Brett go first on this one since he's got it so high?
Sure. I mean, when we went back and did the Metallica list way back whenever that was, I had this as my number 1 Metallica song. So for me, I had to put it up pretty high here, especially out of their set of 80s songs. And it's definitely not one of their more popular songs, but it just has a quality to it that it's very moving for me. Like it's especially as it gets like into like the second half of the song, like it goes into a transition. Like this, the first part starts off like really pretty light for Metallica, and then like transitions into like something very heavy and a much darker tone to it. And it just is it's moving for me. That's the best word I can use for it. So I definitely wouldn't. This isn't like an 80s feeling song
Right.
by any stretch, but because it technically was in the 80s and Metallica is one of my favorite artists and it's my favorite song by them, it had to be at the top.
Well, it's another like genre of 80s music. It's not the synth thing, it's the hard rock thing, which is also very common in that. And I'm not as familiar with Ride the Lightning as I am Master of Puppets. But it's the second album Metallica that I listened to after Master of Puppets. But going back and really, first of all, I had the name wrong. First off, I thought it was a song called Back to Black, which I thought was on the Black album, which isn't a thing. I guess Back to Black is actually an AC/DC album. And so I was really wrong. But when I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds like Sanitarium almost a little bit. Welcome Home a little bit, like at the beginning, like the slowness.
Yes.
And I always like those slow opening, more melodic, sort of creepy Metallica songs. But I was glad to come into listening to this one. Again, it's been so long since I've listened to that album. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good one. I should put that on my list.
Whereas for me, I'm kind of the opposite way when I'm looking to listen to Metallica. I prefer their harder, heavier stuff. Waste My Hate or King Nothing or I had another one on the tip of my brain and it's just gone. But just the harder, more driving, more just cathartic sorts of songs from them. And Fade to Black really is a lot slower for a lot of it. It's a lot softer. It's a lot gentler. And that's not really what I personally listen to Metallica for, or metal for the most part. Not a bad song, but it's just not my cup of tea with regards to that band. So
yeah, over here, I just put again very tonally different than other songs on the list. I would have guessed for sure this had to be a 90s song from Metallica. And if you had quizzed me, even though I've listened to the album probably 100 times, I think I probably thought this might have even been on the Black Album, but it's not. So it's a good tune. Not my favorite Metallica song, but it's definitely very good. The guitar work in this one I thought was fantastic. Again, I listened to this one just even earlier today. And I was just thinking too, just like how lucky was Metallica that they had the skill they had to play their instruments as they did, and also like James's voice just as a lead singer to complement that. Like I feel like a lot of bands might have one or the other, but they don't have both. Probably goes a long way to their success, I would guess. But all right, we'll keep moving here. 85, we have Twisted Sister. We're not gonna take it. This was Brett Highest at number 45. Brett, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, why not? For me, it's just I'd say it's like a very iconic song just in general. I feel like it's like it's one of those like rebellious kind of things where that's very kind of on the nose, like the lyrics, we're not going to take it. Like that's feeling like pretty much everybody can have at some point in their life, and they just want to like, they got to get that out. It's like, this is bullshit. I'm, and I don't, but it also just is very kind kind of fun for like a rock song. It definitely is the fits into the hair metal kind of subgenre, and just very fun. And I feel like it is very iconic. So I had to put it up here reasonably high.
Yeah, it's fun, great beat. I probably hear it more often than a lot of people during like half the year at hockey games. They'll at the college up here because I go to see those with my wife and her folks because they have season tickets. They'll play that whenever we get scored against, which is the last year at least a lot. And when you hear this, when we're like down 5-1, it's almost kind of ironic. It's like maybe we are just gonna take it a little bit. But despite that, it's a great song. I'm never mad when it comes on, even when we're losing terribly.
Two factoids about this song that I find intriguing. When I was younger, I always used to think like, awesome, yeah. What is it we're not supposed to take? Because I never actually say that in the song.
But the clown from the Stephen King story.
Right.
Yeah, but apparently, I remember reading that Republicans were using this song in a campaign at some point in time in the past, and the guy was like, "No, that ain't for you guys. You ain't using that shit." And I appreciate that. The other thing, and I also learned this from that YouTube channel I watch every now and then, is I don't know if you've ever heard this. It's actually based on "O Come All Ye Faithful." Like, we're not gonna take it. Oh, come all ye faithful. The melody is based on "Oh, come all ye faithful," and it blew my fucking mind.
That's nuts.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that is wild.
That's incredible.
Wow.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have too much you guys didn't already say on here. Just a great song that's really lived on. I just the content of the song. This song's literally never gonna die. Like it's always gonna be out there being played at rallies, like Matt mentioned on both sides apparently. But and I know Dee Snider has used this to raise money for some pretty good causes through the years as well. So he's done a lot with the song, I will say. I think Twisted Sister had some other songs, but certainly not to this magnitude. So, all right, let's go on to number 84. This is another legendary 80s group here, Hall & Oates, with the song You Make My Dreams. Joe had this one the highest at 16. I don't have any notes from him on this one, but I just said myself, what a joy Hall & Oates are to listen to. I really had a phase like maybe 5 years ago where I just really got into their music. They just have so many really good songs. Really fun vibe in this one, positive message, good harmonies between the two, and an 80s classic. Short and sweet for me.
I didn't actually know this song, but Hall & Oates is one of those weird groups that it's just like, oh, they wrote that song too.
Yeah.
Oh, and that one.
Yep.
There's one called Private Eyes, which
Private Eyes.
Yeah, I
what are they doing, Matt?
They're watching you.
That's right. You always feel like somebody's watching you?
Creepy lyrics now that I think about it as an adult. But anyway, I didn't know this song even when I listened to it, but I'm like, yeah, that's certainly Hall & Oates. That's cool. I like it. I'm driving.
I always thought they should be called Hall & Ass. I thought that'd be a funny song.
That's their tribute band.
There you go. Hall & Ass, a tribute to Hall & Oates.
For whatever reason, I always think of Hall & Oates as being earlier than they are. I don't know why. It's just they always feel like they're from like the 70s, maybe late 60s in my brain. Have you looked at
their mustaches?
That's the thing. It's like just when I'm thinking of the songs, they're fine. They're great songs. They're very catchy, and they'll stick with you. But for whatever reason, they always feel like they were from just slightly earlier than they actually are, and I don't know why that's set in my brain, but it is. So, but yeah, fun song. Just didn't make my personal list.
Did make your list though, Brett. So I'm curious what you got to say.
It did. It's just a very fun and like kind of happy kind of song. It's very like smooth also as I'm kind of listening to this at the background and just kind of making this up. Like this just occurred to me here that like between his voice and just the music itself, just it is very a smooth feeling is what I'm getting out of it. And whereas a lot of other songs are kind of like 80s songs specifically are with the synth and things are a bit more bouncy. Like this is a very 80s feel, but it's a different kind of feel also. But just generally overall, just a very fun, enjoyable song. So
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to number 83. We have Pet Shop Boys, another legendary 80s band here with the song Suburbia. Matt has this up at number 2, so I guess we'll let him kick this off.
Right. So you'll notice that this is my second song having to do with suburbs.
Yup.
It's a very common theme, but unlike the song Subdivisions, this one is not as crushing. It's not like how awful it is and soul crushing it is to live there. But this one's kind of like it has a feeling of it's beating you down, so you're just sort of like experiencing. I don't know. It just has the chorus on this one is just so catchy and nice sounding to me. I don't know. It's just a great synth chorus going on. The dog barking works for me. There's more. There's really two very different versions of this. If you listen to the album version, it has a very different feel than the single version. The one I'm specifically referring to is the single one, by the way. That's the one with the dogs at the beginning and whatnot. What did I write down? I said the suburbs is just beating you into submission, so just enjoy them. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah. Matt is creeping me out here now because his last 4 songs are Suburbia, Subdivisions, Downtown Train, and We Built This City. There's definitely a theme here I did not pick up on.
I am surprised I forgot to put You Belong to the City. I don't know how I missed that one. That's up there for me, and it's not here, and I don't know how I missed that.
It was a lot of songs to go through.
I'm
sure I've got some like that too. But yeah, this it's very pleasant, mellow, a nice change of pace from some of like the Metallica and whatnot on here. But yeah, it's fine. Just not one that was on my radar as much as a lot of these other ones. But again, huge list. So
yeah, another one that as I mentioned before, songs that I saw on the list. And I was like, wait, what song is that? So I had to go listen to it. And I'm not. I do feel like I have heard a song before, but just I don't think I've heard it much at all. So definitely wasn't on my radar anywhere.
I like Pet Shop Boys. There's probably 3 songs by them I like at least. This is not one of them that I know really well or at all, but I did like the song. I did like the piano in this one in particular. Good synth sound again to this one. I'm a big sucker for the 80s synth sound, the new wave type stuff and surrounding all that, which we'll talk about more next episode. But let's go to 82. This is also Matt with the highest on this. This is Rush Marathon is the name of the song. And I said, I don't know this song. I did listen to it. I don't know it though, Matt.
Well, this was my number 1. And I wrote down absolutely everything an 80s song should be. And one I have to look at as I feel I'm getting older and not having achieved anything I initially set out to do in my life. But the lyrics, I got to remind myself and the chorus it goes from first to last, meaning the beginning of your life to the end of your life. The peak is never past, meaning you have to keep trying. The highest part of your life is always possibly still ahead of you. Something always got to fire the light that gets in your eyes. Like, I don't know, something about this song, if I'm feeling like giving up, it will help me not. And 1 minute 30 in when the chorus starts, like that is perfect 80s synth. Perfect. So that's just me though. Also, Rush, since I don't think anything else is going to come up from Rush later on, I will point out that is the second of 3 bands I will mention started out as a prog rock band in the 70s and certainly embraced synth rock 80s in the 80s. So, in fact, a fun little quick anecdote is a good friend of mine from work named Aaron. Um, I had never really listened to Rush until about 5, 6 years. I don't know how long ago it was. So many years ago, and he just gave me a disc that was like 3 hours of Rush with explanations of each song. It's all 70s stuff up through Tom Sawyer, which I don't necessarily care for. It was on my list, but only because I felt it should be. Anyway,
My
but
favorite Rush song.
but then he basically said, for the next 10 years, I don't give a crap about this band. I hate their synth stuff. If you want to hear it, listen to that, listen to Subdivisions. And then I listened to all those albums in the middle, and I just fell in love with everything. So I'm like, Aaron, I love the band, but I love the part you hate. And he thought that was cool. So he has a big Rush record collection and but didn't have any of the albums I love. So when I was up in Marquette several years ago, I bought him Hold Your Fire on vinyl, which he still has, which he's like, yeah, I'll keep that because of you. So anyway, that's all I got.
That does sound really optimistic. I mean, I hadn't really been familiar with the song at all until, listening to it to get a feel for what it was. But yeah, that interpretation of it is a very motivating, very optimistic take. And yeah, I can see why it means so much to you. Yeah.
Yeah, not much to add for myself. I have heard the song before. They definitely didn't play it a lot on the radio here as I was growing up, so I haven't heard that much. I enjoy it, but it's definitely not up there in my Rush list. But it sounds to you like it's maybe more about lyrics than it is about the music itself. And there's just, to be honest, there's a lot of songs where I have no idea what the lyrics are. I just simply don't listen to them. So it sounds like it might be one of those instances where if I knew the lyrics, I might enjoy it more. But yeah.
Okay, let's do our last song of this first episode of our countdown of 80s hits, with a song that apparently the computer tells me is from the 80s, but I just still can't possibly believe that is true. So it is Golden Earring with Twilight Zone, which apparently is not from the 70s because we live in the Matrix and something is glitching. I don't really understand this, but Brett...
No, we live in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we're slipping into it.
Okay,
right now.
that makes sense. Brett had this highest at 22.
I did. I love this song. I agree with you absolutely. This is a song as much as I love this song, I considered not putting it on my list because I'm like, it has to be a 70s song. In my head, it's a 70s song. There's no way this is from the 80s. But I love it. It's very catchy for me, and I like the theming is very fun for me. Yeah, I just love it overall. So
geez, maybe it's because Radar Love came out in 74. Like that's a big gap between your two biggest songs. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But for me, I just really love the beat to this one. It has layers that aren't necessarily apparent unless you really listen to some of the lyrics. Like on the surface, it's kind of you get the impression that this guy has committed a crime. Things are closing in on him, and his whole life is spiraling out of control. And that is kind of what it is. But underneath it all, there's, especially like towards the beginning of the song, there's a weird, like almost cyberpunky undertone, where he mentions like the connections being tired, circuits being hold on, let me look up the exact lyrics here, because I've got it kind of on in the background. Storms of loose sirens in my head. I cannot decode my whole life's. Oh, hang on. I'm wrapped up in silence. All circuits are dead. I cannot decode. My whole life spins into a frenzy. So it's interesting seeing a song, even if possibly inadvertently leaning into the whole cyberpunk craze of the 80s, because cyberpunk as a genre of fiction is primarily an 80s thing. It is so wrapped up in a lot of the themes and motifs of what was going on in the world in that decade, that it's hard to translate it into, in a modern context, even though the whole genre is set in the future. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to this song that's a little deeper than it seems, or at least a little more experimental than it seems. And it's all just wrapped up in that really great beat. I just really enjoyed this one. So
I
got
admit, well,
I got a little jumbled there.
I will admit, I'm watching it and listening to it right now. Somehow I missed this one as I was going through the list. Don't know how I did that. I'm enjoying it. There's nudity in this video, by the way. I didn't expect that.
From the band?
Yeah, there's a lady. She reached for the gun after apparently sleeping with the dude, and yeah, her chest is totally bare. Now they're dressed as like S&M cops and dancing around him. Anyway, I'm really enjoying the song. I can hear why you think it's a 70s song, but I can hear the 80s in it as well.
Sure.
I have to watch that video now, boy. Okay, any other thoughts on that one to wrap us up here? I think we're good.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
good song.
I think we're good. So this is going to be our first installment again of 5 as we count down to the top 80s songs through the summer here. Just in a super quick recap here, number 100, we had 1999. 99 was These Dreams. 97, Ty, Invisible Touch, and This Must Be the Place. 95, Ty, I still don't know how to say this, is it Ana Ang?
Correct.
All right. And Where the Streets Have No Name. 94, We Built This City. 93, It's the End of the World as We Know It. I Feel Fine. 92, Dare. 91, Downtown Train. 90, Manic Monday. 89, Running Down a Dream. 88, Cruel Summer. 86, in a tie, we have Subdivisions and Fade to Black. 85, We're Not Gonna Take It. 84, You Make My Dreams. 83, Suburbia. 82, Marathon. And 81, Twilight Zone, which is where we end with that song, decade-wise, I guess. All right, that's going to be it for our first episode here for this. Anybody have anything else they want to get out before we leave today?
No, I think we've had a lot to say already.
Okay. All right, everybody. This has been the Fawn Pod. Friends occasionally not disagreeing. Hope you're having a great summer out there. Stay cool. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.